Let's make plant-based beef and broccoli.
And in this case, instead of beef, we of course mean seitan.
So to get started on that seitan, we're going to use a half cup of vital wheat gluten. This is probably the one thing that you cannot substitute in this recipe because it's necessary for seitan. 2 tablespoons of pea protein. You can use chickpea flour if you prefer. I actually really like the pea protein in this. 1.5 teaspoons of garlic powder. 1.5 teaspoons of onion powder. 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika. Black pepper to taste. I'm using probably 1/4 teaspoon. This serves 2, so keep that in mind as you're making it. And now, we mix. Yeah, I always spill a little bit. For some reason, I always make a little well in the middle. I think it's just because I'm used to making pasta. Okay, that's our dry. Let me set that to the side for a moment. Wet ingredients, 6 ounces of water. To that, we're gonna add 1 teaspoon of Kitchen Bouquet browning and seasoning sauce and 1 tablespoon of Chinese black vinegar. Now, we will have a link to this below. It might not be the exact brand, but I've tried a few and they all work. Time to bring the wet to the dry. As always, I don't like to put it all in at once, just in case. Leave a little bit behind. So like this time, I didn't need the extra. Once it comes together a bit, get the best tools you have and put them to work. Put it in your hands and get it going. I'm actually going to knead this on the table just a little bit. Not too much. It should be a moist dough, but not like sopping wet. And it should come together and hold.
It already smells really good.
That black vinegar is kind of the secret ingredient. It's similar to balsamic vinegar. I have yet to test balsamic vinegar in this, but I know the black vinegar makes things taste kind of beefy, meaty. And I like to kind of do this. Just take the edge and curl it. See those strands forming? That's how you get some grain forming in that seitan. And it helps me to thin it out a bit, but not too much. See, I started breaking through. Put it down on the table, pat it out, keep flipping it. We're trying to get it to about 1/2 inch thick. By the way, if you mess it all up and you start tearing it, you can just, fold it all back together again and start the kneading process again, and it's okay. See, no big deal. You can cook this in multiple pieces if you like, but the cooking method that I'm going to be describing uses 1 piece, and all the times and everything are made for that 1 piece. Notice I'm just treating it kind of like pizza dough. Push it around, thin it out, make sure there's no heavy, thick areas, make sure that nothing's too thin, and just keep flipping it and doing that. To cook this one, we're gonna do it a little bit different today. We're gonna use the air fryer. Just putting it in there, and we're gonna put that on 400 degrees for 5 minutes, flip it over, 5 more minutes on the other side. While your seitan is cooking, get the simmering pot ready. I'm just using a decent sized pot here with a couple inches of water in it, and just because we have it, I'm gonna use the rest of the liquid from our seitan. If you don't have it, it's okay. Some fresh cracked black pepper. Essentially, we're just looking for a few things that can add more flavors into that seitan, that's all. I'm gonna put in a little bit of liquid smoke, about a teaspoon or so, and some smoked paprika, just for a little extra color and flavor, probably about a teaspoon. I'm gonna bring this to a boil, then bring it back down to like a medium-low heat, where it's just barely making bubbles. That's exactly the temperature you want it to be at. After 5 minutes, our seitan is done on one side, and you wanna just get a set of tongs under it, flip it over, it'll stick a little bit, put it back in for 5 more minutes. Okay, another 5 minutes has passed. Our seitan is ready to go. Sorry for all the steam, but there is our simmering liquid. Let me get that out of there. I'm just gonna drop it into the simmering liquid, and that goes back on the stove. 30 minutes. Gotta have broccoli for beef and broccoli, so let's start preparing that broccoli. I just cut it off into florets. Just, bite-size-ish, something like that. And it's really boring to watch me do this, so I'm just gonna do it and see you in a few. Keep the stem. There's a reason. Gonna take our florets and put them into our steamer. And of course, just repeat on the other one. Remember those stems I was talking about? Well, we're gonna show you what to do with those. I just wanna cut off some of the extraneous parts here that we don't need, and the stem. I wanna cut that stem down because it was a little dry. I don't really wanna eat that. Same on the other one. All that is compost. You probably noticed a peeler right here. Well, guess what? We're gonna make broccoli noodles to go along with our other noodles. But first I want to peel off some of that outer skin. So the first bit down here, it's a little too woody for me. I don't really want to eat it. So just peel some of that off. It's a little rough at first. That's why you trim it up though, see? Now, let's make some noodles. I like to hold it from the stem end like that and just take the peeler straight across, and you made a noodle. And just keep doing that. And you make noodles. They're very thin. The peeler works great. If you have a spiralizer, you can actually spiralize these. If you have a mandolin, you can do that as well. I do give it a little bit of a turn when they start getting too wide, because I don't like them to be more than, say, a ½ inch wide. And before anybody gets weird about this, when you mix this in with the regular pasta, it bulks it up, but you wouldn't necessarily even know they were there. Now, at some point, you're going to get down to like that much. Guess what? Chef snack. When you're done, grab your broccoli noodles, put them in a bowl, set them to the side until we're ready to cook them up. Now that our broccoli is in our bamboo steamer, we're just going to put this over a pot of water for about 10 minutes. When your seitan is done in the simmer, it's ideal if you can remove it, put it in a container, and put it in the fridge overnight. If you don't, it's fine. It'll just be a little bit more spongy, but it's still really good. But I did exactly that, so this one's been in the fridge overnight, and now I'm going to slice it up for our beef and broccoli. First thing I like to do is just kind of cut it in half, and then stack them on top of each other, and just like 1/4 inch slices. Should look something like that. When it's all done, stick it in a bowl, set it to the side. In preparation for the next steps, I'm going to be making a cornstarch slurry. It's just a few ounces of water, like maybe 1/4 to a ½ cup of water, not that important, and a tablespoon of cornstarch. Whisk that up because it'll settle in the bottom. This is our thickener for the sauce. Now let's start on our sauce. So I have my cast iron pan on the cooktop here. If I were you, I would do it on your stove because a cooktop is just so inconvenient to do it on, but I'm gonna do it this way anyway, just to show you. So I have it on medium heat. It's about 350 degrees or so, that's Fahrenheit, just to get things started. And to an empty pan, completely empty, nothing in it, I'm gonna put in 4 tablespoons of garlic that I minced up off camera because I figured you know how to mince garlic.
4 cloves of garlic.
What did I say?
4 tablespoons.
Oh, well, it's probably about 4 tablespoons too, but it is actually 4 cloves. If it starts to color, it's too hot, you want to turn that heat down.
Yep, you want to turn the heat down. I see it smoking already.
Let's get some liquid in there. We have 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. I'm just going to put that right in. That'll cool the pan down. Yeah, it was a little hot. I have a 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flake, 3 tablespoons of white wine. Now, you can use veggie broth. If you really don't want to use wine, that's fine. 1/2 teaspoon of sesame oil. This is for flavor. Before it boils all the way, I'm going to take our seitan and put that back in the pan. We want to heat that through. Remember, mine was in the fridge. If yours wasn't in the fridge, it won't be as cold.
This is the time for smell-o-vision.
Oh,
this
yeah.
smells so good.
That's sesame oil. It's so aromatic.
It's beautiful.
And now I'm going to play with the temperature a little bit because I want to make sure that we get a little bit of sizzle, maybe not too much, but just a touch. Now what'll happen is the seitan is going to absorb some of that sauce and the garlic is going to color up just a little bit because of the soy sauce. It's not actually burned, but it does gain some little bit of like a smoky flavor from all those ingredients. While we're doing all of this, you probably want to have some pasta ready to go. We're going to use 4 ounces of a fettuccine, but it could be any kind of noodle that you like, is all good.
We like using the fettuccine because it mimics the style of our pasta that we made with our broccoli.
Speaking of the broccoli pasta, dump that in there. This doesn't require a lot of cooking. You just want to basically kind of wilt it a little bit. You want it to be sort of crunchy still, otherwise it just kind of falls apart and melts. All right, already this is looking like something that I would want to eat just as it is, but let's thicken up some sauce here. And I have that slurry earlier. You want to give it a good mix just before you put it in. And I'm just going to pour that in. It's going to instantly cool that pan down. So I want to turn up the heat just a little bit. I have it at like 3.5. Ours only goes to 5. So that's like medium to medium high. And as soon as it starts to come to a boil, that's going to thicken up really fast. It's already starting. Okay. Now we have our pasta. I'm going to push that in. It's kind of like a stir fry almost. You want to keep everything moving. Now I'm going to turn that heat down because the slurry has done what it's going to do. So our sauce is ready. And the last but not least is our broccoli. I'm just going to pile the broccoli right in there and mix that through too. At this point, you can remove this from the heat. I really can't because I have no place to set it at the moment. But we are going to continue mixing this. I'm going to take it off the heat. We're going to do some pictures and some B-roll that you've already seen, and we'll be back to taste it.
It's my favorite part!
I was just going to say that exact thing. All right, so I'm just going to get a bite with everything.
Aroma alone, this is like a masterpiece.
Why, thank you.
You're welcome.
It's such a wonderful mix of textures. You have, the pasta, the broccoli has just a little bit of crunch to it, and then we have the meat is just wonderful. The seitan, I call it meat, but it's seitan. Flavor-wise, it's full of flavor. There's tons of flavor here. The little bit of sauce that's on there is doing its job, and that's on purpose. We wanted the main ingredients to really shine rather than have like a, dripping in gravy kind of deal. Now, one thing you might notice is there's not a lot of salt and no extra oil or added fats to this, but it tastes amazing.
It's just a flavor punch right in your mouth. And then the nooks and crannies of the broccoli really hold the sauce, which is kind of delicate.
Oh, yeah.
So you get the sweet, fresh broccoli flavors with that spicy, garlicky, spicy sauce. I can't say enough good things about this.
If you've made your seitan ahead of time, this comes together in less than an hour. Really, really simple. Even if you haven't made your seitan ahead of time, you can probably do this in about an hour and 15 minutes. So it's perfect for like a weeknight meal. This scales too. You can do it double, triple, whatever you need. But as you can see, that's a huge portion for 2 people. So plenty of food. By the way, all those little broccoli noodles, they're in here, but they just kind of, they wilt. You can't really see them, but they do bulk up the dish just a little bit. And I personally like broccoli stems. I would normally cook them right in it, but I think it's prettier seeing the florets and then having that little bit of broccoli noodles inside. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on
The Bistro.